Alrighty guys, today we're filming a full day of eating on the carnivore diet. Now I've got to be quiet because it's pretty early and my entire house is asleep. For my first meal, we have got about half a kilogram of rump steak, so we're going to get that on in just a moment. For the last 4 months, I have been in a phase where I've been eating an absurd amount of meat every day in order to bulk up and gain some muscle mass, right? So, for the next 28 days, maybe slightly longer, depending on how lean I want to get, I'm getting shredded again. Anyway, so what I'm doing at the moment is something called fat cycling. Now what fat cycling is that you vary the amount of fat you're having, either in like a 3-day cycle or per meal. So if you're doing a 3-day cycle, it would be you have a moderate fat day, another moderate fat day, and then on your 3rd day, you have a high fat day. However, I like to do it by meals. So what I'll do is I'll wake up in the morning and have a moderate fat meal. Then for lunch, I'll have a high fat meal, and then for dinner, I'll have a moderate fat meal again. Now to those of you who didn't watch yesterday's video, I want to say it again. Please, 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 at least include some fat with every meal. Otherwise, you're not going to feel full. Like, you're just going to feel terrible in general. So when I say fat cycling, I mean every single meal has at least a moderate amount of fat. First meal is a rump steak. I wouldn't go any leaner than this. This is like the absolute brink for fat to muscle meat ratio. Now, when it comes to cooking steaks, I'm literally like the least fussy person in the world. I will eat it well done. I personally would prefer it not to be, but I'll still enjoy a good well done steak. But I'll also eat it like completely blue on the inside if it's seared on the outside, which actually at the moment I'm really enjoying. Alrighty. Spread the tallow around. See, again, I would put more tallow on this meal if it was my high fat meal, but because it's my moderate fat meal, I'm even having slightly less tallow. Recently, I've actually been liking my steaks basically raw on the inside. Now, to some people, this might seem disgusting. However, you wait until you're a long way into your carnivore journey, and the rarer and rarer it gets, the better it starts to taste. And the reason for this is when meat is uncooked, the nutrients are slightly more bioavailable. So I guess that's why we develop the acquired taste, to having it rarer and rarer over time. Fun fact. Now, one thing, if you are having it rare though, you do want to make sure you at least sear the outsides completely. Now, if you just killed a wild cow, you could eat it completely raw, no problem. But what happens, right, is at the butcher, they often handle red meat on the same board as they do with like raw chicken. And you know, I don't know how well those guys wash their boards and utensils and stuff. So on your raw beef, it might be slightly contaminated with like raw chicken and stuff, you know. What are we looking, guys? Beautiful. Now, some people don't salt their steaks, but I do. To me, it just tastes better. The general rule for salting steaks is simply just to salt to taste. You know, at the start of your carnivore diet, it'll seem like an absurd amount. Like, genuinely, I was putting so much salt in it. My friends would come over and they'd look at me like, "Are you sure that's alright, bro?" Like, yeah, like they were genuinely concerned. It was a lot of salt, but that's just what tasted good to me. And the reason for this is because you retain less sodium when you first go into a low carbohydrate state. But over time, when your body gets used to this low carbohydrate state, less and less salt tastes good to you. So now I use a lot less salt than I did at the start of carnivore. Also, another pro tip is I eat the fat first before I eat the muscle meat. And the reason for this is when you eat the fat first, it keeps your blood sugar lower, which means they're more stable when you're not having peaks and crashes. Now, because there's no carbohydrates in this, even if you do eat the protein first, your blood sugar's not going to spike that high. But for me, I'd rather just keep it as low as I possibly can. So yeah, that's why I eat the fat first. Anyway, see you guys in the next meal. Alrighty, we're back for meal 2. This time, we've got 1/4 kilogram, so 250 grams of 18% fat beef mince. And we're also going to have 5 eggs with this one too. Now again, we're cooking this in tallow here. I much prefer tallow over butter, simply because, as I've talked about before, I'm not the biggest fan of dairy. Now just cooking in butter is probably fine, but I think the more beef fat you can have, the better. So in my opinion, tallow is a better option than butter, if you can. But like I said, it doesn't matter that much. Now, this is my high fat meal. I talked about earlier how we've got a moderate fat meal for breakfast, a higher fat meal for lunch, and then a moderate fat meal again for dinner. So this is the high fat meal. That is seriously warm. Let's chuck that on. If you're going to remember one thing from this video, make sure that when you get eggs that they're pasture raised. Now the reason for this is because when chickens aren't pasture raised, and they're fed those grain pellets, which are just absolutely full of rubbish. Because they're monogastric animals and they don't have the complex digestive systems, they can't break down the food that they're given. And often they're fed things like seed oils and soy. So what ends up happening, which we've seen in studies, is that the fat in the egg yolk, as well as like the chicken itself, ends up being very high in linoleic acid, which is a polyunsaturated fatty acid, and it's not healthy for us. So if you're gonna spend extra money in any department, I highly recommend you do it in the egg department. Now, of course, eating grain-fed eggs is still going to be better than like whatever other garbage people eat. But in my opinion, I do think it's worth spending just a little bit extra so you have a pure egg. I honestly wouldn't eat eggs that haven't been pasteurised. In fact, I didn't eat eggs for a while because in my country, New Zealand, where I'm from, they're actually quite hard to find. Alrighty, now the trick with mince and eggs, right? A lot of people right here, you know what they do? They would take the mince out and eat it separately. But if you put the eggs in with the mince like this, it is a lot better. Believe me. Also, I know a lot of people are going to be like, Max, you said you're trying to lose weight. Why are you eating so much food? Now the reason is because ever since I've gone on carnivore, I have just unlimited amounts of energy. So any spare moment I get, I literally just spend it training. So in order to recover, I actually need to eat a lot of protein. Also, I seem to have heaps of people that are just beginning the carnivore diet watching my video. So I've written a basic, like, full beginner's guide ebook. It's only going to be like 5 pages long, but it's super comprehensive and super concise. So hopefully that will be coming out in the next couple of days, so keep an eye out for that. Alright, these eggs are looking pretty good, I can't lie. Time to plate them up, eh? Time to dial in. Oh, already nearly messed that one up. Oh, you're joking. No one saw that. I think I'll cut that part out and just pretend it burst itself. Yep, another one messed up. In terms of presentation, I would not say it's my best work, to be honest with you. If that came to me at a restaurant, I'd be a little bit concerned about what sort of chefs they have working there. But I'm going to enjoy this meal. That right there, meal number 2, my high-fat meal for the day. I'll see you guys for dinner time, where I'll be having my other moderate fat meal. A lot of people think on carnivore, if you keep eating the same foods over and over, you get sick of them. However, because there are no toxins in the meat you eat, it just starts tasting better and better by the day. And as well as the fact that your taste buds aren't messed up by all that processed garbage, they actually get to go back to, like, I don't know, I guess you could call it their natural state. Like, think about it, lions don't get sick of eating, like, what do lions eat? Gazelles. And the reason for that is because their taste buds aren't messed up. The reason you get sick of your favourite food, let's say a pizza or something, is because what happens is when you eat it over and over again, the defense chemicals and toxins in that food start to build up, right? So you get a build up of these specific toxins. And your body's like, whoa, nah, please stop giving us this, like, we're not doing well. So then it gives you the negative feedback mechanism every time you eat it. So that is why with every food but steak, you get sick of eating it. Now, there are a few people that actually start getting sick of steak on the carnivore diet, and there's a reason for that. It's because you're putting spices on. Think about it, with all these spices, if you would just eat it by yourself, like say you got some paprika and you poured it in your mouth and ate it, it would taste terrible. Well, that right there means it's toxic to us because our taste buds are so sophisticated and they taste all these defense mechanisms when they eat the food. When you put this toxic stuff on your steak and you eat it over and over again, even for something like pepper, right? The chances are you're going to start to get sick of it because the pepper is going to accumulate in your system. But if you eat steak every day with nothing but salt, you will never get sick of it. Literally, every single steak tastes better than the last one. Like, this is probably the best mince and eggs I've ever had in my life. It's hard to comprehend, but trust me, talk to anyone who's done this diet for a long period of time and they will tell you I'm not making this up. Also, going back to the egg thing earlier, a lot of people talk about getting like an egg ick after eating too many eggs. Now, this is completely made up my own hypothesis, right? But I would speculate that people that get the egg ick are eating the eggs that are fed an improper diet. If these people would eat pasture-raised eggs cooked in like butter or tallow, I don't think they would still get the sick. Anyway, that last part there is pure speculation, but I would suspect that I might be right on this one occasion. Alrighty, and now for the final meal. It is, what is the time? 10 past 4. I usually have dinner very early because I'm usually in bed by about 8 or 9 o'clock. But what we're having is another half a kilo of rump steak, as well as this little bit here, which I had in the fridge from yesterday, and if I left it much longer, it wouldn't go very nice, so I figured I'll cook that one up as well. So as you can see, that's how much fat we've got on the steak. Now again, this is literally as lean as I'll go. As I've talked about throughout this video, moderate meal for breakfast, higher meal for lunch, and a moderate meal again for dinner. So this is my moderate meal. Usually if I wasn't fat cycling, I would not eat a steak that lean. However, as I was saying earlier, I'm trying to lean out, so we're doing the whole fat cycling, and this is another moderate fat meal. The single greatest life hack ever. Chuck water on. If it's sizzling like that, it's not hot enough. See how, when you drop it now, it like bounces around? That's how you know it's ready. So we chuck some tallow on. Now today, I feel like having it's super rare, so I'm gonna have it blue. So we'll let it sear on the outside a bit. Give this a flip. Probably could have left that a bit longer. Yeah, and that right there will be my final meal of the day. Anyway, starting tomorrow, I'm back to my usual videos. I think it's gonna be how to do carnivore on a budget. So I guess I'll see you guys then. Thank you very much for watching.